we're grassrooting this thing, we're gonna do it. The venue is 100% secured, like I said, like that. One day before Let's Make Moves Miami, the 26th, I was notified of 2 major sponsors dropping. We'll have the major looking streams. We'll have the quad stream. We at least have a tournament now. We did not have a tournament before.
December 8th through 10th, 2023, the Smash Ultimate Major Santa Paws goes down. This tournament was created by a player and TO named LinkStain. On the outside looking in, it just looks like another major that happened in the community. Nothing too important, but I can assure you it's the exact opposite of that. August 15th, 2024, one of the head TOs, Scratch,
I'm David so fucking hard right now,
releases a document on the matter, entailing his grievances with not only the tournament, but LinkStain as a person. TOs, Syntax, and Gorgax follow suit, dropping their own documents on the matter, with a statement from Emma Ray the following day. All of the documents follow a similar theme, calling LinkStain out for her lack of care and communication with her staff, with some also highlighting the debt that she accumulated through this tournament. Scratch's tweet that linked his Google Doc blows up, forcing LinkStain's hand. August 18th, 3 days later, LinkStain responds with her own 141-page document. Let me tell you, it was not a fun read. I'm sorry, y'all. I don't know why I ever thought that it would be a good idea for me to record with my hair looking like that, but let's move on. Before I keep going, here's a message from today's sponsor, myself. Join my Discord. The idea and concept of this video came from somebody in that server, alongside some of the information regarding the case. So if you ever want to tip me some information, make sure to join that. Link is in the description and in the pinned comment of this video. Also, I'm going to be establishing memberships and Patreons for this channel soon, and only they're going to have Discord access once I do that. The server is still public, so if you want in, you should get in now while it's free. Now, where were we? LinkStain responds to these documents, claiming that she communicated with her staff just fine, and rather this being any form of a con, this was just a big event that she ran poorly. Alright, so let me ask this. What happens when you let an ambitious, naive TO run a Super Smash Bros. Tournament? A major at that. Better yet, what happens when this person runs out of money, screwing over not only herself, but dozens of other people in the process? What sort of accountability should they face, if any at all? This is the community I deal with, folks. Now, I know you're sitting on the edge of your seat thinking, what the f is a Santa Paws? Who is LinkStain? What are you doing with your life? All good questions, all good questions. Santa Paws is a tournament that happened all the way back in December of last year. And if I'm posting this on time, it should be exactly 1 year ago today. As I said earlier, on August 18th, LinkStain released her own 141-page document on the matter. Despite what she intended, her own document entails her incompetence, her negligence, and her overall inability to run events. And because the Smash community needs videos to understand what's happening in their own community, well, here we are. Besides that, I haven't answered one of the questions. Who is LinkStain? LinkStain is a known TO from Alabama. She's the one who created the Smash tournament Santa Paws and was the head TO of that tournament, but we'll talk about that later. To the surprise of absolutely nobody, the TO who couldn't run her own event has been in other controversy. Shocking. Way before her debacle with her tournament, she had issues with a player named Miss Pooley and Corno. It's important to highlight these issues because they show bits and pieces of her true character, which is important in the context of the larger issue we're going to be breaking down today. First, we'll be talking about Miss Pooley. Miss Pooley? I think it's Miss Pooley. And the civil dispute she had with LinkStain. Miss Pooley is a player from Alabama. And well, you know what they say about the South. Always guns blazing. Miss Pooley is currently banned from the Smash scene. And let me just say this, it's a justified ban. Pooley was banned in October of 2022 for telling players to come to events strapped. Basically to come in with guns. But the issue stems from when we look at who banned her. None other than LinkStain, who in the month prior had also tried to call for a state ban against Miss Pooley for alleged transphobic rhetoric. I mean, from what Pooley said in these screenshots that were posted by LinkStain, she doesn't seem to hate trans people. She only treats them like everybody else. Okay, for real, locking in. Pooley was actually banned in October by LinkStain for the strapped comment as shown earlier. One slight issue. Our friend LinkStain here didn't actually have the authority to do that, especially when it came to the forwarding of a statewide ban. But either way, she took the matter upon herself, banning Pooley despite not having the power to do so. This entire issue exploded into a civil case, with Pooley accusing LinkStain to be discriminatory, bigoted, and overall biased against herself in the ban process. LinkStain won the civil case, and when it comes to the accusations Miss Pooley presents in her case, I can't say. What I can say though, is that LinkStain did completely overstep in the initial ban of Miss Pooley, with her herself admitting the boundaries she crossed when banning her. And that's what I care about, because LinkStain overstepping is a common theme you're going to see in this video. Alright, second controversy before we get into the real meat of this video. Corno is a Smash player who was with LinkStain and Chunky Kong when they went to SmashCon in 2023. Oh yeah, before I go on, I just want to preface, remember how I was talking about a civil case in that last section of the video? Well, LinkStain didn't even attend her first court date. She was at SmashCon instead.
Come on now, dawg.
I just wanted to point that out there. When Corno saw all the documents that were rolling out this year, he decided that he was going to take part of it and share the experience he had with LinkStain. According to Corno, LinkStain frequently uses the N-word. She never condemns Chunky Kong when he is in the wrong, is a rather dirty and inconsiderate roommate, and that her and Chunky Kong have quite the touchy relationship. A lot to unpack here. LinkStain is also Chunky Kong's manager. That'll be relevant at points in the video. Alright, before I go on, a lot of what Corno said was either fabricated or blown out of proportion. Like LinkStain not showering or her and Chunky's relationship respectfully. These Discord screenshots were released during the multitude of documents that were coming out against LinkStain. It's clear that this was an act of spite. LinkStain does actually refute a majority of these claims. Keyword, majority. There are some things she missed or straight up ignored from Corno's post. LinkStain never denies not condemning Chunky or the half-eaten burrito that was in the house for a considerable amount of time. Basically, what I'm saying is, due to these inconsistencies, it's more likely than not that some of this did happen. So in the end, why did I bring up Pooley and Corno? Well, I wanted to show that the issues that LinkStain finds herself in are a result of her own actions. The issues stem from her. Whether it's unjustly banning players or just kind of being dirty, it's all important for understanding the root as towards why Santa Paws went down the way that it did. Furthermore, the aftermath of these issues aren't as clear and cut as LinkStain may lead you to believe. And it's important to recognize that her word typically isn't what went down in these fiascos, as we're gonna see with Santa Paws. Now that we know who LinkStain is and the multiple controversies she faced prior to the tournament, we can finally discuss what this video is about: Santa Paws. Santa Paws was the ultimate tournament that also featured brackets for Melee and Rivals, and was created and ran by LinkStain. And before I go into the actual tournament, I'd like to preface by saying that LinkStain refused to speak with me on this matter, not only turning me down publicly, but privately as well. I've tried to speak with her, but I've been blocked on multiple platforms. Go figure. I even got banned from Chunky Kong's stream. he permed me from his chat, bro. That's mad funny. So yeah, before you start crying on Twitter that I'm missing your side of the story, but you didn't want to speak with me at all. How am I supposed to get your side of the story? I'm not a fucking mind reader, people. However, I was able to get testimony from players who'd rather remain anonymous, so thank you to those individuals. Our story begins all the way back in December of 2022, when LinkStain was just starting to put together a team for this tournament. She was determined to make this work, for Alabama isn't quite known for its Smash scene, let alone major events. In her eyes, this wasn't only going to be the state's first major, but the biggest tournament the state has ever seen. It was going to set a precedent. In this time period, December, is when Syntax was hired, the head TO of the Ultimate side. It's also important to state that during this time period, LinkStain was working a 6-figure job. She had the bread to make this work. Moving into January, LinkStain met Cact, who was crucial in pushing out the message of Alabama's first major. In February, the venue is established. Everything is looking quite swell, but it's in March we see the first shift towards worse. LinkStain is laid off from her 6-figure job. While obviously she picks up other jobs to sustain herself, she wasn't going to be able to allocate the same amount of money towards Santa Paws as she was previously. Right here is where her efforts should have ended, but we all know that's not what happened. By July of 2023, it's declared that Santa Paws will be occurring. The message is put out there and people are going to start registering. The venue was laid out. This tournament was in full swing. In fact, they even had sponsors. Well, keyword, had sponsors. Prior to November, Santa Paws had 2 big sponsors, one being Coca-Cola and the other being the National Guard. Because the venue they chose was already tied with Coca-Cola, they kind of just assumed that that was going to be a sponsored type of thing. Like, it was just going to happen, right? However, that quickly dissolved once LinkStain got word that Coca-Cola doesn't sponsor particular events like they used to. And then she got ghosted by their rep. Go figure. And for the National Guard, well, they're a part of the military. Of course, they'd want to go to an event where there's a bunch of kids.
What?
Also, the Smash scene hates the military, but that's not that big of a surprise once you consider what the average Smasher looks like. But later on, they're actually able to secure a sponsorship with a company named Manifold, but we'll talk about that later. But yeah, this sponsor isn't secured until like much later. During this time period where they lost these 2 sponsors, LinkStain in her document is talking about how she was helping Cact run a tournament called Let's Make Moves Miami, a major in Florida. This tournament occurred from October 27th to October 29th. This means by the end of October, a month before the actual tournament, LinkStain had no sponsors and no money. This tournament was fried, so she turned to the community and decided to host a raffle.
just being honest with you. One day before Let's Make Moose Miami, the 26th, I was notified of 2 major sponsors dropping. Now, normally this is something that can be worked around, but in this specific case, because of such short notice, it is not something that can just be easily worked around. But what I have done, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. What I've done is I have reached out to so many top players and so many content creators, and we have all come together to come up with an idea of a raffle to hopefully help Santa Paws.
From all of the evidence provided, this raffle was legitimate, and it didn't break any laws in any way, shape, or form. The raffle was able to be ran off as for charitable cause. Okay, so how can this get any worse? She already has no money, she's already turning into the community, there's no sponsors. What else could possibly happen? Wouldn't it be crazy if, like, the place they're supposed to be at just, didn't work out? That'd be pretty crazy. On November 30th, LinkStain receives a devastating message. The venue fee was in fact not covered by the Coliseum. So a week before the tournament, she needs to cover a $10,000 venue fee with only $2,000 available, out of her own pocket. But luckily around this time, LinkStain had actually secured the sponsorship with Manifold, so she reached out to them to see if they could help her. It was a no. They said no. But hey, this section definitely ends on a positive note. Most definitely.
Like I was saying.
So we're finally at the tournament, December 8th through 10th. In these 3 days, a massive amount of occurred. So much so that they're all going to need their own section. Each day, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, had its own issues that need to be addressed in its own sections. But it doesn't stop there. There are some of issues that will require their own sections outside of the breakdown of each specific day. Alright, I don't know why I'm breaking down to you guys my own video, but let's just start with Friday. So this is the first day of the tournament. Quick quiz. When the head TOs in the venue of their own tournament, what should they be doing? A, running brackets. B, helping out their staff team. Or C, nothing. Scrat, the head TO of the Ultimate side, said that LinkStain was just walking around not doing much. Emma Ray, in her own document, repeats this sentiment. All these other TOs had to work double to cover LinkStain's slack. While LinkStain refutes this, saying that she was active in the venue, all of her staff says otherwise, so it's safe to assume that she wasn't the most productive as she could have been. But it wasn't only the venue. Even more issues occurred later that day, thanks to LinkStain's negligence. Yes, I know my hair looks different. I got a retwist. Get over it. According to Scrat, Syntax, and Emery, due to LinkStain's lack of communication, they had to make multiple trips by car to pick up and drop off players. And gas is pricey. All these players had been promised some level of accommodation by LinkStain herself in regards to getting and leaving the tournament. Yet she leaves these promises to TOs despite specifying that she would take care of it herself. Dodgeball, for whatever reason, was one of the main selling points of this tournament. If you look at Santa Paws on StartGG, you'll see that Dodgeball was actually listed to be an event that happened on Friday. So what the hell happened? Due to the flooring of the venue being too hard, initially the event was cancelled. However, the other TOs decided to lock the in and make it happen. According to Scrat, there was suitable flooring for Dodgeball at the venue. LinkStain just hadn't asked for it. Because of this, the TOs had to pick up the slack, as one of them were forced to run out and get liability waivers so that if anyone were to get hurt, they themselves wouldn't be liable. Emery was the one who was tasked with this, because we know damn well LinkStain wouldn't do it. Essentially, LinkStain's incompetence led to one of the main events of the tournament being cancelled, with the other TOs having to make it possible themselves. Bracket-wise, the second day was a little bit better, as games were able to run a little bit more efficiently. However, LinkStain's behavior didn't change, as she was still quite useless according to her fellow organizers. So it's Sunday, and we're in the top 8 for 3 different events. While these top 8s did run smoothly, the main issue stems from what happened with the animal shelter. The whole purpose of Santa Paws was to be a charitable event in conjunction with a local animal shelter. However, LinkStain's plan was initially a little too ambitious, as she wanted 24 dogs from the animal shelter, so each person in the different top 8s could get their own dog. But that plan was scrapped before the event even began, and they settled for 8 dogs. So this makes for another issue. No matter how you would have split it up, there wouldn't have been an equal amount of dogs for the 3 different top 8s. I know this might seem crazy, but 8 divided by 3 is not even. But this doesn't even matter, because due to lack of communication with the animal shelter inside the venue, the volunteers began to leave preemptively. Because of this, only a few people people in the Melee top 8 were able to leave with dogs, while every other top 8 had to leave with LinkStain's unruly dogs. LinkStain's dogs were lesser trained, and according to her, they were hyped up by the 500 people that were in the venue. Okay, so now I'm confused. So the shelter you asked for dogs couldn't even give you the number you requested because it was way too high. You didn't even properly talk to them inside the venue, and then you had to give out your unruly dogs on the fly in a venue full of hundreds of people. Make it make sense, bro. My only question is, why? At some point, you just have to come to terms and realize it's simply not going to happen, no matter how much you want it to. Because from the outside looking in, like the rest of us, it's getting real embarrassing, man. And it only gets worse. LinkStain later that day was informed that an issue came up with the venue. And well, long story short, the venue bill hadn't been paid, and now she had to put down $6,000 towards it. Once the top 8's finished, everyone was essentially kicked out the venue because LinkStain still hadn't paid for it. Alright, now that we've looked at all the specific issues on each day, let's look at the overall issues of the event, because Lord knows I'm not finished yet. The running of this tournament was absolutely horrific. She didn't buy the actual correct headsets needed for a tournament. She said she listened to a TL named Solitaire who had provided a list with all the materials needed. This means LinkStain, the person who knows absolutely nothing about production, decided to blindly follow a list without asking anybody else. Yes, this is who we want running a community. Killing it. Not only were they working with nearly no production equipment, but the stream was horrible as well. Sorry you guys, I forgot my signature red sweater. That's my bad. This YouTube shit gets serious. If it wasn't for a player named Lost actually being competent, the stream would have been a lot worse. The audio, on the Ultimate side at least, was without a doubt the biggest issue, for all the good audio equipment had been given to the Melee side, leaving Ultimate with the bare minimum. In short, all the issues with production really shows how incompetent LinkStain is in the running of her own tournament. As I mentioned earlier, LinkStain made a multitude of promises to different people when it came to housing and arrangements for her tournament. So this creates a funny conundrum. If LinkStain already had a ton of debt to the venue, how in God's green earth was she gonna pay for the accommodations of others? Let's say it together, folks. She doesn't. On Thursday, December 7th, a day before the tournament even began, LinkStain failed to book a flight for a commentator. And of course it didn't stop once the tournament began. TOs were out driving constantly to pick up and drop off players, having to stop everything they were doing to fulfill things LinkStain had promised. Plus, most of these TOs who were driving weren't even paid back for gas, with the one dude who was paid back only given half of what he needed in gas. Moving on, players who were promised specific housing accommodations because of their individual needs, fuck you, you're going in an Airbnb with a bunch of other people you don't know. But Felly, this is too broad. I can't trust this. Where are the names? Okay, this is all public info. The general synopsis is that LinkStain screwed over multiple people with promises that she knew damn well she couldn't deliver on. Once again, her incompetence led to issues that she didn't even have to deal with, pitting it on her team rather than dealing with it herself. As I said earlier, there was quite an issue with Manifold. The main sponsor for Santa Paws, LinkStain was able to tie down after the other ones didn't pan out so well. So what happened? Manifold, previously known as Manifold Markets, is an online prediction market platform. I gotta figure out something to do with this hair. I think maybe I'm gonna tie it up for the next video because it's just getting longer. But yeah, that's just fancy speak for gambling. We're dealing with betting and things along those lines when it comes to this company. They allow for betting on a multitude of different topics, and what do you know? Smash is one of them. Who would have thought? They as a company were interested in Santa Paws because they were trying to expand their Smash section, and what better way to do that than with an upcoming major? LinkStain, being in the hole she was, accepted the offer right away. The offer entailed that their company could be used for betting on the events of Santa Paws, and a stream link was set up allowing viewers to do just that. Before I go on, let me just say that no actual money or crypto is used for these bets. It's basically gambling, but for everything is going fine until one player decides to do a bit more looking around and sees that one of the topics they do betting on is the death toll in the Gaza genocide. Yikes. This person, Momo, takes to Twitter and calls out LinkStain for having that company associated with Santa Paws. Despite these people making no money off of their betting, it's still incredibly disrespectful to the victims of the genocide. While the link on stream did only direct people to betting for the Santa Paws section, the fact that the company was associated with that tournament at all is absolutely disgusting. While LinkStain does apologize and condemn the company, she still had to go through with the advertising as their contract entailed. So now I have a question. If it wasn't for Momo calling this out, would LinkStain have ever become aware of Manifold's horrible deeds? The company she was partnered with and actively advertising? Why didn't she research the company at all? Why did it take a viewer on Twitter to call this out for this to become an issue? The lack of her due diligence led to her promoting a company literally betting on genocide. Insane. Do better. As I previously alluded to, LinkStain's venue fee, which she thought was covered by the state, was in fact not covered. But listen to me here, because there's layers to this. So a week before the tournament, LinkStain is notified that the venue fee isn't covered. However, Ashley locked in and was able to get the city to cover $9 out of the $10,000 that was needed for the fee, with LinkStain agreeing to cover the rest. Okay, so now we're in business, right? Well, this deal with the city was apparently a verbal one, a handshake type of thing. And well, what you know, the city backed out last second. Sunday, the last day of the tournament, LinkStain is notified that, well, she owes a ton of money. The venue fee on its own is already a lot of money to owe, but it only gets worse. On top of this, she also owes money to essentially all of her staff, most of the players, and a lot of commentators. From what I was able to find, LinkStain owes over $37,000 to all these people. Hey y'all, it's Editor Felly, and I'm just here to say that there's been an update towards how much money LinkStain has paid towards her debt. By the time this video is going to be uploaded. So it's been reported that she's paid off about 60% of her total debt, meaning that she's dropped about $30,000 towards her entire debt. This percentage, from what I've been told, is covering both not only the debt she owes to players and commentators and all those other people, but the venue as well. She still has a lot more to pay if the numbers are correct, and she definitely won't be finished by February. So yeah, that's y'all's update. Back to the video. LinkStain claims in her document that she got a new job to pay everything off, working 125 hours a week. Wowzers. You'd think with all that working, she'd have a large chunk of her debt already done, right? Wrong. So as of August, she's paid off $20,000 of her accumulative debt to everyone else, right? That's what she said in her document. She believes she's going to be able to finish this by next month, January, with February being the longest they'd have to wait. I sincerely doubt this to be the case, but hey, we'll see what happens. I highly doubt she works 125 hours a week, being she's a very active member of the community and constantly going to tournaments, but 125 hours a week, man. Yeah, you got that. So what have we learned, guys? Well, initially, LinkStain pleaded and begged to me to not make this video, but you know your boy. I just had to go out of my way and deliver the story she wanted to suppress so badly. But for real, why did I make this? It's about accountability. Her bouts of, oh, I'm in debt, leave me alone, that doesn't cut it for me. Calling all of this just one massive slip up doesn't do it for me. That's not being accountable. This is way more than having good intentions with poor execution, and we all know that. The fact you try to label this fiasco as such shows to me that either A, you don't realize how much damage you've caused, or you're trying really hard to bury this, and it's probably both, to be honest. To even think that phrasing this dumpster fire in such a manner is okay really shows the lack of consideration to the multiple people you screwed over with your issues. You ran this tournament with subpar materials, completely ignored people's housing preferences. Your actions have consequences, LinkStain, and you can consider this video one of them. I also made this video because a lot of people were in the dark about this situation, not willing to read the 200+ pages of documents necessary to get a full grasp of what happened. And it's also in part because LinkStain tried her best to bury the situation as deep as she could. When all of these documents came out in August, yeah, there was a little bit of a buzz, you know, people were talking about it on the first day on Twitter, but after that day, it all disappeared. If you're going to do something, please note that your actions have consequences. It affects not only you, but everyone you involve. What you do has impact on those around you. It's not fair that those people have to suffer alongside you. If something is becoming bigger than you, or is starting to become bigger than you, it's always okay to just back down, which is what exactly LinkStain should have done from the very beginning. If you've enjoyed today's video, please make sure to drop a like. I really would appreciate it, man. Like, subscribe, you know the deal, all the YouTube stuff. I genuinely wouldn't be able to make these videos without your support, and I appreciate all of y'all who show it. And make sure to join the Discord. A lot of my information comes from people in that server, and well, this video wouldn't have been possible if it wasn't for them. If you ever want to talk to me or give me a tip on something that's happening in the community that you think I should talk about, make sure to join that. Link in the description and in the pinned comment. And that's it, y'all. I'm out.